What's up, guys? So, I don't normally do this, but today we're basically going to be talking about fictional alternative universes. Now, of course, just a note, warning, clarify. Whatever I say here is purely fictional. It's for entertainment. Any extremist poli- policies, politics, and basically anything related to that fiction is all fictional, right? Any accidental relations to real life characters is coincidental. All right, so let's start. Now, of course, most fictional universes where actually has the normal universe usually after wartime universes. And the most popular one is after either World War One or World War Two. For example, you've probably read or at least heard of A Man in the High Castle. The Man in the High Castle, probably. This envisions a World War Two Axis victory, which was a thing because of course in our world the Allies won. In this universe, North America is split. All right, there's a neutral zone. In the west, Japan occupies everything from Alaska to Baja California, which is this region that is Mexico, but is bordered by the California state of America. Then in the center, there's the neutral zone, basically like keep the buffer zone, like for example Burgundy, which is also a semi-real because it was intended to be made after winning in the Eastern Front, but however they didn't win. Burgundy was never made. Now their capital is Denver, de facto capital because it's neutral zone. Nobody really leads it. And then of course in the east, from Quebec to Florida, Nazi Germany. So however, in the book, there's also a book called The Grasshopper Lies Low, which is basically envisioning Allied victory, basically like the reverse of our universe. So that's number one. Number two is this one is much more popular if you think about it. 1984. 1984. 1984 actually takes place in sort of like alternative universe where World War III happened. Now this was written by George Orwell in the 1930s, 1940s, but envision like okay, this is what's gonna happen if we keep making these dangerous alliances and playing with fate and sword. Now it's split into three super states. Super states like huge, extremely powerful, dominating nations. All right, you have Oceania. Oceania occupies all the Americas, the British Isles, Australia, Australasia, South Africa, southern India and Sri Lanka, and Antarctica. Eurasia, I don't think I need to explain much. Eurasia is Europe and Russia because we have East Asia, the youngest and most unstable one in my opinion. It was basically the newest superstate. East Asia encompasses everywhere from Pakistan to Japan and the Indonesian Galapagos. All right. Now, moving on, of course, we also have my personal favorite universe, Hearts of Iron 4. If you haven't heard of Hearts of Iron 4, I don't blame you. Hearts of Iron 4 isn't really that popular. It's kind of like a subgenre. Basically, it's a game where you play as a leader of a nation and you have to conquer other things. You have skill branches. It's basically turn-based. Very hard game, very strategy-based. Now, one of the most known mods for this game is the Fire Rises, where the Grobstermannschitzreich, which is the de facto name for Greater Germanic Empire, it basically establishes a huge hegemony. All right. Now Germany itself stretches from Alsace-Lorraine to Gdansk, which is now the port near the Kaliningrad, which is also occupied by Germany. So yeah, basically Gdansk, Kaliningrad, all the way to Alsace-Lorraine. Pretty huge speck of Central Europe. All right. It has Polish puppet states, the French, Burgundy, Netherlands, the British, the Irish, the Norwegians, the Finnish as an ally because they occupied the Murmansk and Karelia, which is this upper region bordering, of course, Finland. And basically, they also just instead of annexing it into their actual borders, they create what's called the Einheitspact. Now, of course, I'm not gonna translate it because you can translate for yourself. But the Einheitspact is basically like a huge alliance of mostly dependent nations on the Greater Germanic Reich. Now, this encompasses basically every nation that isn't directly controlled by either Germany itself or the SS. All right, the SS is basically like elite special forces. Now, nations that are in there, well, it includes I expect Central Asia, because which is basically now the Central Asian part of Russia, Moscovian, um, Ostland, which is the Baltics, and of course we also have Lycomyceliat. Oh, yeah. To be honest, those are the only three in Russia. However, it also encompasses nations that aren't Reich commissariats: Britain, Ireland, Norway, the French puppet state, Italy, which also has the triumvirate, which is these nations surrounding, kind of like in the Mediterranean, formerly what's part of the Roman Empire, kind of things. So yeah, in the end, well, wartime fictional things are very popular. But in the end, well, it's still fictional, so at least we can just sit back, relax, and enjoy the fact that these things are not real. Because to be honest, it would be hell to live in them. Thanks for listening to what I say. Goodbye. See you next time.